Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden. This is Langley Outdoors Academy, the place where we not only talk about what's going on in the gun world, but also how we're going to fix it together. And the content that I've got for you tonight is going to make you smile. We have an update coming from the horrible uproar that the left experienced around the reality that was stripped away viscerally by the New York Times around gun buyback programs. Well, now it's been amended and everything has been corrected except one tiny, eensy-beensy little problem, which I cannot wait to hear what you guys think of right down here in the comments field. And of course, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn the notification bell on to spread the blessings of freedom that we have to the next generation and across this amazing country. And thank you for that consideration. Now, this content is sponsored by Vanish Holsters. Let's say a quick word from them, and then we're going to get to this, and I can't wait. This is not your everyday range holster. This is the holster that eliminates all your excuses for not carrying your favorite freedom tool. So comfortable, in fact, they offer a guarantee you'll love it or they'll get your money back. It fits 99% of existing models, and you can carry 2 fully loaded mags in this bad boy. Just a few of the features the Vanish holster boasts: it has a no-stink material. It wicks away moisture and prevents odor, so you don't have an issue in that regard. As well, it comes in 2 sizes, 48-inch and 68-inch belts. That makes it a perfect fit for everybody, and the belt is fully adjustable. And this holster comes with the most comfortable holster you'll ever wear guarantee. If it's not the most comfortable, they've got you. Also, if you use my code right in the description box, you get 30% off for yourself, plus an additional half off of the next one for your friend or family. Vanish wants to hook you and your family members up. Not only if you click on the link in the description box below do you get 30% off for one for yourself, but you also get an additional one for 50% off the already discounted price. It's right down there in the description box, and act now so you can not only prepare yourself, but also your family and friends with this holster. All right, beautiful people. Listen, some backstory here. The New York Times in December, they uncovered the bane of the existence of gun buyback programs, the dark underbelly. To the chagrin of Shannon Watts and Mom's Man Action, Everytown for Gun Safety, they all were dismayed and unbelievably disappointed at the idea that the parts that weren't weren't actual serialized guns, according to the ATF, would dare be sold in order to save the state government's money. Yeah, reality came down like a sledgehammer on that one. But we have a big update. Check this out, and it will make you laugh just as hard. Michigan vows to destroy buyback guns after resale uproar. Police agencies in Michigan and elsewhere were handing off surrendered firearms to companies that resold the parts in gun kits because they weren't firearms. Again, as we go through this, understand, the gun control groups, the gun control supporters, the gun control advocates don't even know what a legal definition of a gun is. Because if they start going into the details, they get lost in the weeds because it's extremely complicated across the board with all the directions that gun controllers push them in and all the nuance. So they got to keep it high level, which is hilarious because when you get into these types of things, they start to lose support because they can't explain the details because then they lose their attention. Let's keep going. This genuinely is amazing. Michigan will no longer allow guns marked for destruction to be sold online as parts, a change prompted by public anger over revelations that firearms turned in through buyback programs were not being destroyed as promised. They were never... Okay. Understand what happened here, guys? Some backstory that they didn't tell you there. Again, Michigan had the option with the companies they partnered with to destroy the entire firearm at cost or to sell only the serialized receiver, and that's the gun, according to the ATF, and then sell the other parts for free. Michigan chose to do the latter. Well, they got some very bad uproar because they were making those guns into other guns. And the big irony here is they don't even understand basic economics, and the Democratic reps who are sending letters to the ATF around this exact same thing don't either. I've got that too. Oh, it's going to be so good. Michigan State Police, responsible for collecting unwanted firearms from local law enforcement, said on Tuesday that the weapons would now be crushed and melted down in their entirety at a scrap metal site. The agency said it had disposed of 11,582 guns last year at the cost of the Michigan taxpayer, because you got to have purity in your purity test, don't you? Understand that they've done absolutely zero to the propagation of guns or gun parts at all. Because if you've sold millions of dollars, this is where the economics part comes in. If you've got a demand of millions of dollars worth of secondary parts, that means you still have a demand of secondary parts that has not gone away because the parts in question are not guns. They are not regulated. We're talking about things like springs and hammers and slides. We are not talking about serialized firearms, but they can't share those details. So all they've done is they minimize the supply, but the demand is still high. All that's going to happen is that supply is going to simply move to another provider because it's not a regulated firearm. Brownells is going to get a lot more website views, and they're going to get a lot more part sales because they sell the same parts that these guys were selling, but now they're being destroyed. They've done nothing, but man, that virtue signal feels good, doesn't it? I think the best way to describe this would be this simple action. Come on. Anyway, let's get to the Democratic representatives because they're sending letters. It is just terrible. Let me check this out. Quote, "This new method will improve public safety by ensuring all parts of the firearm are destroyed, never to be used again," said Colonel James F. Grady II, Director of the State Police. Thank goodness gracious for internet. Beyond Michigan, members of Congress have also expressed concern over the failure to ensure that guns collected through buyback events were not fully destroyed, contrary to what the public was led to believe. In a typical buyback, people are encouraged to turn in firearms to the police in exchange for a gift card or some other incentive. They were not promised that the guns would be destroyed. They were promised they'd be taken off the streets. And technically, because the Michigan State Police approved this plan, they knew that the receivers were being destroyed and the other parts were being sold off to cover their cost. Guys, let's just get to the Democratic reps. This is the most perfect cherry on top to this story. Citing the Times article, Representatives Dan Goldman of New York and Gabe Amo of Rhode Island, both Democrats, wrote a letter asking the ATF to take steps to stop the resale of gun parts. The Bureau's position has been that under the law, disposing of just the one regulated component, called the receiver or frame, is sufficient to consider the weapon inoperable or destroyed. That's because that is the weapon by definition in literally federal law. But these people see something that looks like the outline of a gun and go, oh, that entire thing, every piece of metal has been tainted with the idea that it was touched by a gun. So barrels and springs and hand guards and all sorts of stuff, not serialized product, can be sold door to door, person to person, shipped directly to your door because it's not a firearm. It's kind of like buying a muffler and then the person who is who's like a climate activist says you bought a car. It doesn't make any sense. Oh, one more thing, because here's a quote, and if this doesn't make you smile before you go to bed, I don't know what does. You might be dead. Quote, "We are concerned that current ATF guidance on the destruction of firearms does not account for this regulatory gap," the congressman's letter said. It doesn't. A regulatory gap? Well, at least they didn't say the word loophole. A regulatory gap is now complaining that a functional firearm, per the definition of the ATF, is not enough. Now, if you had a sight, if you had a barrel, if you had a handguard, if it was a slide, if there was a spring that was ever in a gun, that is now a gun, and we must destroy it. Guys, this is like cancel culture, but for metal. It's the most bizarre thing. I just hope you guys enjoy this because this is, like I said, the perfect cherry on top. And thank you for the New York Times for covering this so in depth for us. Everything will be linked, as I mentioned. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you on the next one. I'm Braden. See you later.